Hi, this is Scott Holstad, poet, writer, author, and I'm about to try to resume doing some videos reading some of my work for the first time in a long time. It's been a very long time. I've been trying to recover from some surgeries, an emergency surgery that really became very complicated, and they've really made things very challenging this year. I've been incapacitated most of the year, and I don't feel particularly good right now. I'm feeling a little better than I have. Enough to try a video, and I don't want it to be one of my usual 25 or 35 or 45 minute videos. It would be great if I could keep it short-ish. So I'm going to try and read as I've been doing, largely chronologically from my older print books. I think I'm up to Places, which became, I thought it was my 8th collection at the time. I now know it's like 10th or 12th or something. But this was my first book that was a small but flat spine, perfect bound book with an ISBN number, and it was published by Sterling House, publisher in Pittsburgh, a pretty decent mid-size publisher. I had professional headshots taken along Sunset Boulevard, and there were stories and poems that came out of that. And this was nominated for some awards, big one. No, it wouldn't win, but and it was meant to be thematically unified in ways which, if you care to look it up, because you can find this book online. You can also find it on my website, hankrules2011.com, for sale, but cheap. And if you want to look for it, you can find where to download it for free. But I'm just going to try and get back in the swing of things by reading 3 quick poems from it. Fairly, one's fairly mainstream, I would say. One's kind of funny, although it got me in a little trouble with this famous writer in Beverly Hills. And one is about the death of Bukowski, which I wrote, obviously, when Bukowski died. Bukowski being one of the biggest influences in my life and career. I have to put on my reading glasses to attempt to do this. And again, the book is Places. It was published in 1995, Sterling House publisher. You can find it at the Internet Archive. You can find it again on my website. You can find it in a number of places if you look, even though it's out of print. And I started doing this in October last year, 2025, in support of my newest book, Surviving Immortality Again, Alien Buddha Press, October 2025. It was my first new book of poems in a very, very long time. It's a very nice book. I encourage any of you who may be interested or not interested to look it up. It's on Amazon, paperback, but I just want to try and do a shortish actual video. This seems to be one of the most complicated failures I have, so I'm just going to launch into this. This first poem I'm reading from Places is titled, "At Disneyland, Even the Birds Are Tourists." And I'm sorry, but the print is small and my eyes aren't what they used to be, so if I'm leaning and hovering and squinting, well, that's why. Plus I have a hell of a headache. At Disneyland, even the birds are tourists. They wing in on sunbeams in airy prayers, forage through dinner chair steel gridlock and forests of green shrubbery, looking for the next piece of twisted straw, that forgotten bit of wasted cloth tossed in the alleyway by a grumpy Snow White. shreds of paper napkin blowing down Main Street, and sticky plastic bags smudged by the excited fingers of the child who has purged it of its sweet multicolored contents. The birds are welcomed yearly and encouraged to make their stay, find their respective hotels, and enjoy the Disney amenities. By day, they work the park, preying happily upon their captive audience, and they grow in wealth and stature on scraps of delectable leftovers thrown by eager Midwesterners. By night, they rest in the luxuries Disney, the bird god, has provided, and dream sleeping beauty dreams of whistling into the morning sun in a Tomorrowland painter's landscape, chattering contentedly, congregating with commuting Disney goers. The second poem I'll read is titled Snobbin' with the Big Boys. Yeah. And there are stories and other stories. Snobbin' with the Big Boys. I gave a reading recently at a pen publication party in Beverly Hills. And I was somewhat stressed because while I've given readings all around the country for years, I knew this would be different because all the West Coast literary bigwigs would be there, and it's a good place to crash and burn. And I pondered these things while stuck in a Southern Cal traffic jam while on the freeway from Long Beach, but I eventually got to my exit, found the reading house right behind the Beverly Hills Hilton, and I parked my trusty university pay family mobile besides all these Rollses and Benzes and proceeded into, through, and out of an impeccable and quite large house to find a slightly surreal scene awaiting me in the backyard, seeming rather fitting for the movies, because I was in a large fenced-in backyard complete with pool, tents, rows of white lawn chairs on a manicured, groovy green yard, nannies in crisp clothing caring for kids, hors d'oeuvres, and the people, my God, the people were walking stereotypes. And as I grabbed the nearest beer, I glanced long and hard at these big writers hauling bigger books around, and I could spot them. Oh, I could spot them. The mystery writers, essayists, poets, not too many, thank God. But the romance writers were the best, all with big hair, bigger breasts, dark shades resplendent in their gaudy jewels, and of course one even with the requisite poodle. Anyway, I parked it and prayed to read first and get the hell out, so I had another reading to give in Hollywood. And as I was praying hard, one of the other Long Beachers showed up, Weeb, and we said, howdy, looked at the program and shrieked, because I, of course, was next to last. And Weeb, well, he wasn't even on the list, and as you can probably tell, I could go on and on, but suffice it to say, Weeb and I both eventually read, and everything went well. In fact, several people asked to be put on my mailing list, and I felt like I had, to some small degree, lived the life. And I breathed the Hollywood smog in long and hard while wandering to the next reading. Yeah. And the last one for this video, I'm doing pretty good, it's called The World Ran Dry. It's one of several poems I wrote when Bukowski died. It was hugely impactful for me and millions of others. Interestingly, this poem was requested of me by an editor I knew in Canada who taught at a small rural university, not a bad one, but for a journal of theirs that was not their literary journal. It was an academic journal, and in fact, this, and if you've heard any of my stuff before, you'll know this is not remotely controversial compared to a lot of the stuff I do. But this was considered in 1994 in the middle of nowhere, rural northern Canada, to be controversial enough so that the Board of Trustees had to meet with the editor and the staff and be talked into approving publishing this poem in their academic scholarly journal. And after I read this, if you think it merited that, especially if you've heard some of my other stuff or read some of my stuff that's just utter smut or hardcore horror or stuff like that, and you can remain as amazed as I still am to this day. The world ran dry today, suffering from drawn-out hangover. The world ran dry this week. Bukowski died, and 1/3 of the world's winemakers will go broke. I live in a tin can alley world of rust and litter. LA, not Paris, is burning, and I was offered a teaching job this week at a major New York university, contingent upon my admission into their PhD program, only to receive a rejection letter that very afternoon from that very program. I saw a dead dog lying battered and broken on the side of the road, Dalmatian carcass drying under withering California sun. Nights are better here. I sit in bed and listen to the sirens and the screaming, but at least it's cool, and I can read whatever and whomever I choose. The world is dry right now. I'm sweating seagull-sized drops, panting hard, my leather jacket still drying out. Trying to recover from last night's party, I downed 2 pints of Jack, shot some tequila, and imbibed otherwise. A scared white cat with Carolina blue eyes scampered through, frantic to avoid blasting DJs, spinning tunes, debauching the young, and I could actually hear people squish. The men sweaty, the women frothy wet. And I lay in bed now thinking of futile grant application attempts and the beautiful Mexican girl dancing with swaying penniless breasts, while wedding-sized bells frolic in my increasingly shrinking, dehydrated head. The end. There were other poems I wrote about Bukowski's demise. This one just had a different feel to it, and you heard the story behind it. This video has gone on long enough. Thank you for making it through this video with me, if you did. I still don't know the stuff you're supposed to say for YouTube, but if you're still around, I'd be grateful as heck if you would subscribe, like, comment, share. Sharing is really appreciated because I get very few views on YouTube. I get a lot more when it's shared to other platforms. And feel free to engage, to comment, to I'm not the quickest at getting back to people. I do have a lot of challenges that impact me on many days, physical largely, but I mean well, and I do want to get back to people, so I never know how to end these videos, as you know, so I'm just going to end it. It's March 31st, 2026. The world's about to end, eh? Unnecessarily, but fuck it. Yeah, those of you who watch this, thank you. I wouldn't mind hearing from someone. If someone has a suggestion, yes, I know I need to show, figure out how to show the poems I read, so I need to improve, but if I ever start doing this regularly, I may actually try to look into that, but for the meantime, I'm just doing the best I can. Thanks. Hope everyone is having a good and safe week, and I'll try to come back again, and I guess that's it. Take care. Scott Holstad. Bye-bye.